haven't tightened it, but it'll go down to, yeah. When I put all the Cunningham on it, I have like a couple inches of breathing room.
Good luck today, Caroline.
Thank you. You too, Lee.
Hey guys, this is Lee here, and in this video, I got a treat for you. I have an exclusive interview with the top 2 female finishers in the 2022 Sunfish Midwinters Championship held in Clearwater, Florida, hosted by the Clearwater Yacht Club. I have Emily Wagner, the U.S. Sunfish class secretary, conducting the interview of the top 2 female finishers, Caroline Young, who is the silver medalist, and Susan Tillman Berg, who is the 6th place overall and the 2nd female finisher. This year's Midwinter Championship hosted some of the top sailors in the country, and with conditions that range from light to medium to heavy air, the cream of the crop definitely rose to the occasion.
Are there men on the course?
I don't think they saw any.
Where are they?
And in this video, you're going to learn how these great sailors found their speed, how they set up their boats, how they dealt with the varying conditions, and how their mindset was to find success. But before we get to the video, I ask you to please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Smashing that like button really helps the channel out a lot, and I really appreciate it. And subscribing to the channel is totally free. Now here's to Emily, Caroline, and Susan.
I am here with the story of the day, of day 2 of Midwinters Nationals. Caroline Young and Susan Tillman Berg. Caroline is our new regatta leader after taking bullets in all 4 of today's races. And we're going to go through the standings a little bit more. Susan also had a major move today and went up to, what place are you in?
5th. Yeah.
Okay. So very exciting racing to see the 2 of them getting huge separation on the rest of the fleet. Like so much so that as I'm coming like downwind, and I knew that they were ahead. So I'm looking like, how are they doing? And I don't see either one. I'm like, oh no, what happened? They're finished already, luffing, probably having lunch, and everybody else still racing. So that's what I'm talking about for supper. So would you guys just talk about a little bit about your day and how it was for you, so the rest of us can live vicariously?
Go right ahead.
The leader speaks.
Okay, so yeah, that was fun. We were swapping tacks a lot, and it always cracks me up to do like women's sailing. For the record, we were doing co-ed sailing, but the top 2 was women's sailing. And so it's because it's like Susan's like, oh man, it's getting close. This was gonna be close, and I was like, I know, you know. So it really is awesome because it comes down to like a boat speed race, you know, and we were matching tacks. So anyway, that part of the equation was really fun. I think the biggest thing that I'm learning sailing Sunfish is, as soon as I can get in the straps and start cranking the main in, like once the spars start to bend, you're off like a slingshot, because once the spars start to bend, you're getting lift. And so what happened, which I noticed Susan as well, like we could just point a lot higher. So I don't know if it was like, and there were waves too, so you had to pull it in, you know, and still leave the nose up a little bit. But today was a game of boat speed. There was one major righty. Someone got it and then they lost it again. Like there were no major shifts that I recognized. I would go left, take it back, you know. So yeah, it was a really cool day of, the formula was kind of laid in after the first race. That's kind of what I saw out there.
Okay. Yeah, there was that was a major conversation at dinner. We're at dinner with lots of people from the regatta right now, and every dinner conversation that I visited was like, Caroline and Susan can point so high. Why?
I'll tell you why, because we're little and strong. Really and truly. It's you have to be able to like pin the main in. I'm sure I must be speaking for Susan because we were sailing right next to each other the whole day, but correct me if not. But yeah, it's like you just crank and hike and it hurts, but you're like, all right, this is getting me 2 degrees or 3 degrees, and it's just, you know, it's kind of funny. I'm like exhausted from today. It wasn't that windy, but I was full hiked the whole day long. So yeah. So anyway, but I'll let.
Yeah, no, today was the first day I had my gooseneck at 14, and it felt windier than usually I would move it back, but the boat felt very balanced, and I thought the wind was coming up for the third race, so I moved it to 15 and a half because I'm paranoid of not being able to hold the boat down after the last week, and then I felt a little slower, so I moved it back to 14, and I just it felt balanced.
Yeah.
And that was a good feeling to just lock in and then focus on boat speed.
Yep.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
I noticed actually, Susan, you were beating Caroline after the second race. Did you realize that after day one? Because it's interesting that Caroline, when she won races, she won 5 races, and Susan, you were always in second when she won.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Is it one like you're
Like
really
I'm
doing
second-
well, or is it like frustrating?
Oh my God.
First move again?
We were both like, all right, come on, let's go.
I know,
How does that make
yeah.
you feel when you're chasing, like, it's almost like a cat and mouse game, and we're just there to watch this?
You know, it was what it was, but in the last race, believe it or not, I actually rounded the last mark ahead of her, and then we battled it out, and I think she got me by like 2 feet.
Yeah.
It was very small.
Yeah,
the end.
Caroline's dad was on a spectator boat, and he said it was he could not call it from where like from right there at the finish. He was like, it must have been like that came out in the results. So he was like, it was too close for me to call it. It was like probably less than 12 inches. So
Well, I mean, I couldn't take a 4th bullet away from her.
Oh yes. It's,
So you let her win.
Susan just doesn't want me on the streets. It's like, it's really hard. I have a dog to take care of. It's like, no.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was fun.
Kept it interesting.
Well, and also I think we got really good starts. That was the other thing. Like the first race for sure, I looked over and I was like, Susan's punched. We're the only 2 people that are punched. Like there was a line sag in the first couple races of each day. It was pretty tremendous. So much so that I always started, a few boats up from the pen because it was really difficult. I mean, it was a U flag for every start. So yeah, I needed to be at an end. Susan figured it out in the middle. I didn't know how to do that, but she did the middle and nailed it.
yeah, Eugene and Paul were really good. I don't know if you were anywhere near them, but they had a really good line sight. So I could like peek, and be like, oh, they're way out there. I'm good.
I just have a little stiff neck. I was looking back and forth so much. Yeah.
So if you followed women's North Americans last fall, then you know that these were also our 1 and 2 sailors, and both qualified to Worlds in Garda. So what do you know about Garda, and what is this regatta, if anything, giving you for Garda?
Practice and wind.
Oh, well, you had that last week or earlier the week.
Yes.
I have a training partner now. That's nice. I'm like, oh, this will be great, because really, like, one of the things too, when you're young, you qualify for your national team. There's like all these little homies and the coaches and like all this stuff, right? But now it's like, okay, I could see like it's really nice to make a teammate where it's like, oh, when we get there, we'll be like, dial up. Test before start, stuff like that. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. What I know about Garda is it's very windy. Very windy in the afternoons, which is when the races are scheduled to start at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
So what's your advice for people in the middle of the pack? Because it's like when the wind gets heavy, you're kind of not in the top 3 or 4 or 5. So what would you say to Emily, who's been doing great, but she was confused that last race, I think?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle. I'm currently 25th, which for me is great. So I'm really happy with my results, but I kind of feel like I know the left was the side that paid off, but I didn't really understand why it didn't, like, even when the current changed, it didn't have that much of an impact on it. Was it just better pressure on the left? Like, what was going on? Was it just as confusing to
Susan
us?
knows.
Yeah. Well, I've spent a lot of time in the middle of the back. Typically, so I try very hard not to get frustrated and try to just race my race, because it's really easy to look around, to get distracted by what's happening in front of you, what's happening behind you, and then I can lose focus. So I just try to be like, okay, stick to the basics.
Now, I want to ask you both questions where you say you sail your own race, and I find, and maybe Emily finds this too, oh, I'm next to Susan, or I'm seeing Caroline. Does that give you comfort, saying, oh, I'm on the right tack, or I'm in the right position?
Not for me. Because honestly, I was just so two things. The last question, I just had to get leverage. So I tried when I was in the middle of the pack yesterday. It was I didn't take a bunch of sterns unless I I just had to have a lane toward the edges, right? Because you're never, in my experience, you never make gains in the middle. So that was kind of what was happening yesterday, and also what was happening today. But the other thing is, I was getting to the point where I was just matching tacks, and I honest to God don't even know too much about the shifts because they were so subtle. This was not what was the where did we sail? South Carolina. South Carolina was wha-bam, wha-bam, right?
Yeah.
And this was more get yourself some leverage and just go. Susan's saying, just put the bow down or up and then just go.
Right? I did, the times that I looked at the compass, which wasn't making any decisions for me, but it was kind of okay, am I where I think I am here? But, I mean, it was within 10 degrees all the time, on both tacks. It was 240 to 250 over here, and whatever the numbers were on the other side, and it just didn't really change that much. So every time I tacked, I was always hoping to be oh, good, but it never really was like that.
And that's the middle, right? That's what happens. You wind up in the middle because
Yeah.
there was no shift interesting enough to tack on, unless you were gonna have a nice, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was boat speed then, because you weren't gonna get some huge major advantage by taking some kind of you get
A flyer.
Yeah. So if you got is that what you're saying by you had to get you just went? You
Yeah,
your
right.
side
You couldn't
and
bang a corner and win, right?
Yeah. It's and I found out it's it's really hard to do well by accident, but it's pretty easy to do badly by accident. So that definitely
it's a day. I say this because my one of my 12-year-old Opti kids just had this realization, but she was oh, in medium air everybody's fast. Light to, it was light to medium maybe, if you guys will give me medium, but it was a point where a lot of the fleet had ramped up, and so it was a really tough call of are these shifts worth tacking on? Does it make more sense to just go? And honestly, I think the biggest thing was because of the waves, it made sense to tack as little as possible. Had it been flat water, it might have been more of a squiggle.
Yeah. I can see that, because I definitely felt like I did much better when I minimized that, and part of that was coming in closer to the port ley line, to the windward mark, because if you get on the starboard ley line too early, you're just stair-stepping. You have to keep tacking out, and it's just every time you do it, another chunk of the fleet rounds ahead of you. Lee, what else do you have?
So you mentioned, Emily, that you all three did the Women's North Americans in South Carolina. Is this a very similar situation because you guys are 1-2 right now, or is it different in South Carolina? How did you feel about that, Susan?
Well, South Carolina was a 2-day event,
Okay.
and it was so painfully light. So I feel like it's different. It's different because we get to just move around the course and
The much longer legs, it felt like.
You're talking about these are much longer legs.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was light, so we really couldn't.
Now, do you feel different that because there's men on the course?
There are men on the course?
I don't think they saw any.
Where are they?
That's true. That's absolutely true. Except saw Kynan. Did you see Doug every once in a while? He was up there.
Is he 11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
And
great
then
guy.
20.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. She could see his number, but she couldn't tell.
I
if it
was
a guy or a
kidding.
girl. All right.
I just don't see gender. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you guys for hanging out and staying up late, and you probably went to go to sleep.
Thank you for having us.
So congratulations, you two. You got one more day. This is the end of day 2, where you got the first and second place. Hold on, you jumped to 5th. I'm sorry.
That's right.
And you're first and second today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
winners
makes
of the
sense.
day by far.
That's so. Congratulations. Good luck to both of you tomorrow.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you
Thanks,
both.
Emily.
Yeah.
So I hope you liked that interview with Susan and Caroline. And if you like that interview and Sunfish Sailing, I'm sure you're going to be liking this video right here.